Hello students and namaste everyone. Our today's topic is from your standard 9th literature part, chapter number 10, Kathmandu by Vikram Sheth. So this chapter is basically a brief extract or an excerpt from Vikram Sheth's travelogue from the Heaven's Lake, right? So Heaven's Lake is the main book of Vikram Sheth. It is the travelogue. Travelogue means what? So ultimately travelogue means a film, book or an illustrated lecture about the places visited by or the experiences of a traveler, right? So travelogue is usually a kind of book or a film in which usually the experience of the traveler is mentioned, right? What all things he saw over there, what were his experiences, is everything mentioned in the travelogue. So this chapter is a glimpse of, right? It is a glimpse of Kathmandu, which is the capital of Nepal, and the writer, that is Vikram Sheth, right? He came from China to India, hitchhiking via Tibet and Nepal. So again, the word hitchhiking is important. Hitchhiking means travel by getting free lifts in passing vehicles, right? So usually we have seen the people doing like this. That means taking the free lift. Okay. So when Vikram Sheth, he was coming from China to India, right, via Tibet and Nepal through hitchhiking. So hitchhiking means travel by getting free lifts, okay, in passing by vehicles. So in this chapter, as I said, it is a glimpse of Kathmandu, right, wherein the writer visits two important temples. One is the Pashupatinath temple, which is a pilgrimage place for the Hindus, and another one is a Bodhanath temple, which is a pilgrimage place or a holy place for the Buddhist people. So when he went to Nepal, what was his experience over there? What did he notice over there? Is everything mentioned in this chapter or the extract, right? So let us begin with the chapter to understand it in detail. Okay, so we'll start with the textual part, which is on page number 127 of your textbook. First paragraph. I get a cheap room in the center of town and sleep for hours, right? So what is mentioned over here is, that is, I get, that means he has already reached Nepal. Okay, again before that, right, there are some 3 paragraphs given where it is written, do you like traveling? The writer Vikram Sheth enjoys it very much. In his book Heaven Lake, he describes a long journey from China to India via Tibet and Nepal. So this is what I have already explained you in the introduction, right? Fine. So what is written in the first paragraph is, he had taken one cheap room, that means not too much costly, okay, in the center of the town and sleep for hours. The next morning, with Mr. Shah's son and nephew, I visited the 2 temples in Kathmandu that are most sacred to Hindus and Buddhists, right? So he has already reached Nepal. Over there he had taken one room which was not too much costly and which was in the center of the town, and the next day he is visiting, right, the 2 sacred temples, one which was sacred for the Hindus and another one for the Buddhist people. Second paragraph. At Pashupatinath, outside which a sign proclaims entrance for the Hindus only. That means the Pashupatinath temple, which is there in Nepal, outside there is one signboard which says entrance only for the Hindus. That means except Hindus, no one is allowed to enter the temple. There is an atmosphere of febrile confusion. Again, the meaning is given in your textbook. Febrile confusion means complete chaos. Chaos means a kind of situation of confusion, right? So outside the temple there was a complete confusion, total confusion was there, because usually in Nepal also there are so many tourist people who are from outside Nepal and from European countries or foreign countries. Even they have come over there to visit the different places. Even they want to see the Pashupatinath temple, but as the signboard says, only the Hindus were allowed inside it. So they don't know what to do, how they can go or enter the temple. So there is a total confusion over there. Priests, hawkers means the people who are selling by the street side. Hawkers, devotees, that means the people who are coming to pray, right, in the temple. Tourists, cows, monkeys, pigeons and dogs roam through the grounds. We offer a few flowers. There are so many worshippers that some people trying to get the priest's attention are elbowed aside by others pushing their way to the front. Usually we have seen that at the pilgrimage places there are so many people over there to pray to God. Again, we all know that when we are in a queue or in a line standing to visit the God from close distance, right? So usually what happens, we have some kind of prasad and all, we want to give it to the priest or the Maharaj. So we are just waiting and praying for our turn to come. But as always, there is always a big line and a crowd or a rush. So usually the people, they are elbowing. That means they are trying to move away the other person, right? So that is what is mentioned over here. A princess of the Nepalese royal house appears. Everyone bows and makes way, right? Everyone bows and makes way. That means they are making way for the prince. Okay. Next, what is written is, yes, by the main gate, a party of saffron clad means cloth. So saffron colored clothes, right? So a party of saffron clad westerners struggle for permission to enter. That means as at the main gate, the notice is written that only the Hindus are allowed to enter. Many foreigners who have worn saffron color clothes, which is considered to be good or sacred in the Hindu religion, they have worn that and they just want to visit inside the temple, that is Pashupatinath temple, and waiting for the permission. The policeman is not convinced that they are the Hindus, right? Only Hindus are allowed to enter the temple. That means as the police is not getting convinced that they are the Hindus, they are not allowed to enter the temple and they are just made to stand outside the entrance gate. Okay. A fight breaks out between two monkeys. One chases the another. That means one is running after the another, who jumps onto a Shivalinga, right? Then runs screaming around the temples and down to the river, because near the Pashupatinath temple there is Bagmati river, which is again very famous in Nepal, right? So this two monkeys are fighting with each other and they are running here and there, okay? And they are going down to the river, the holy Bagmati. So the holy Bagmati means the river is being talked about, right? Okay. Moving further, that flows below. A corpse is being cremated on its banks. Corpse, C-O-R-P-S-E. Corpse means a dead body. So usually in our Hindu culture or religion, the dead bodies, if they are cremated means what? Once the person is dead in Hindu religion, the dead body is taken to a place where we give fire to the dead body, which is known as cremated. And it is always considered to be holy or sacred if the dead body is taken to the holy rivers like the Ganga Here the Bagmati. So what is done? A corpse, there is a dead body, is being cremated as I said, to burn the body on its banks, right? So that process is going on. Washerwomen are at their work and children bath. That means the washerwoman, they are washing their clothes, the children, they are taking a bath. Okay. From a balcony, a basket of flowers and leaves, old offerings now wilted. Wilted means okay, usually again one concept in our Hindu religion is that usually the flowers, right, which we keep near the ideals of the god and goddesses, once they get dried up, we collect all the things together and we put it in the river, right? So the same thing is happening over there. Nearby places are there near the river where the people, they are staying, and from their balconies or the windows, they are throwing those things into the river. Okay. Next is dropped into a river. Okay, old offerings now wilted is dropped into the river. A small shrine half protrudes. Protrudes means to stick out. Okay, a small shrine means a temple half protrudes from the stone platform on the river bank. Right, protrudes means to stick out, up or forward. To stick out, up or forward. Right. From the stone platform on the river bank, when it emerges fully, the goddess inside will escape and the evil period of the Kali Yuga will end on earth. That means they are trying to say over here that there is a temple over there which is submerged in the water. Slowly and gradually, if the water will get lower down, and if the temple is emerging fully out, right, it protrudes out. That means if it is fully visible once the water is getting submerged, and if the temple which is inside the water right now, if it is visible fully, that means what it is written, that is the goddess inside will escape and the evil period of Kali Yuga will end on earth. So there is one kind of saying or a story which is believed over there. Next, third paragraph. At the Bodhnath Stupa, which is a sacred or a pilgrimage place for the Buddhist people, the Buddhist shrine of Kathmandu, there is in contrast a sense of stillness. That means on one side it was the Pashupatinath temple, there was too much chaos, confusion, loud noise, gatherings, but at the other end there is a Bodhnath temple or a shrine where there is total silence, stillness. That means not too much movement, complete silence, peaceful atmosphere. Okay, its immense white dome we all know, the round shaped is known as dome. Usually in a building or a temple, we see at the upper part there is a round shaped part or a structure which is known as dome. So its immense white dome is ringed by a road, right? So again you need to see, you are having your textbook. In that textbook you can see this kind of picture, right? And near the dome there is a road type thing constructed where the people, they move around. Okay, so that is what is written. Small shops stand on its outer edge. Many of these are owned by Tibetan immigrants. Immigrants means a person who comes to a country to live there. That means they have left their own country and they are shifting to the other country and staying over there. Felt bags, Tibetan prints and silver jewelry can be bought here. There are no crowds. This is a heaven of quietness in the busy streets around. So what the writer is saying, this is a heaven of quietness. That means there is so much peacefulness, so calmness, right, that it feels like a heaven. Why? Because the nearby or the nearby areas or the surrounding places are too much noisy and crowded, but here there is too less crowd, and because of that there is so much peace and calmness. Kathmandu is vivid, mercenary, religious, with small shrines to flower adorned deities along the narrowest and the busiest streets, with fruit sellers. First one is fruit which we eat, then next is the flute sellers, hawkers of postcards, shops selling western cosmetics, film rolls means earlier time there were no digital cameras, and the cameras were such inside which a film had to be placed. In Gujarati we say roll, right? So you can ask your parents, earlier times there were cameras in which the films were placed, right? So once the picture is clicked, it will be captured in that film, and we need to remove that film after all the pictures are clicked, and after that we need to give it to the person who prints the photograph, and then we are given the copies of that film as well as the photographs. Okay, next, what is written? And chocolate, cosmetics, film rolls and chocolate, or copper utensils and Nepalese antiques. Again, we all know what is the meaning of antiques, the thing which is rare, and we don't usually see such kind of things everywhere, is known as antique. Film songs blare out from the radios. Blare means to make loud and usually unpleasant sound. That means the sound is so loud that it's unpleasant for ears. Car horns sound, bicycle bells ring, stray cows low questioningly at the motorcycles. Stray cows low questioningly, that means continuously the honking is done, and because of that even the cows, they are looking at the vehicles questioning. So that is what the writer feels. Vendors shout out their wares, wares. Wares means things, right? So they are selling different things for which they are shouting. Usually we all have seen in the markets, the people who are selling their things, they keep on shouting loudly. Again, in the beginning of the paragraph there was a word which is vivid. Kathmandu is vivid. Vivid means lively. Lively means there is, in Gujarati we say pahel chal, that means there is a lot of people moving around and it feels lively. Okay, next is mercenary. Mercenary means caring about only about making money, that is money oriented, right? So Kathmandu is vivid, mercenary, that is money oriented. That means the people, they are money oriented, they want to earn more and more amount of money. Okay, rest all the things I have already explained. At the end, what is written? I indulge. Next page, that is page number 130. I indulge myself mindlessly by a bar of marzipan. So marzipan is again a sweet. The meaning is already given in your textbook. A sweet made with grated almond. So it is a kind of a sweet. Bar means a piece. A corn on the cob, roasted in a charcoal brazier on the pavement. Brazier means open stove, which we say a chula, right? So on that, a corn we all know makai, it is corn on the cob, that means it is roasted, okay, on a charcoal, that is a coal, right? So that is available over there, and the writer is buying that thing. On the pavements usually the place where the people they walk. Okay, so rubbed with salt, chili powder and lemon. So that is what the writer is describing, that at the street, on the pavements, the people, they are selling marzipan, corns and everything. A couple of love story comics, that means the books, and even a Reader's Digest. All this I wash down with Coca-Cola and a nauseating orange drink and feel much the better for it. Okay, so what is given is, all this I washed down with Coca-Cola and a nauseating orange drink. right? So nauseating orange drink means he's drinking after having the corn and all these things, he's drinking the cold drink which usually has a kind of bubbles, after drinking which a person becomes freshen up, right? So nauseating orange drink and feel much the better for it, right? So that is given in the 4th paragraph. Next what is written is, I consider what route I should take back home. That means he was in Nepal and he wanted to reach back India. So he is deciding that what route he should select, which way or by what way he should reach India. If I were propelled by enthusiasm, right? Propelled means we can say to push or drive. So if I were propelled by enthusiasm, that means if I was very much enthusiastic for travel per se, right? Travel per se means by itself. So enthusiasm for travel per se, I would go by bus. That means if a person is too much enthusiastic of traveling around the places, then that person will not choose going by air, because he will not be able to see the things around. But if a person is very much enthusiastic, who likes roaming around, finding different places and seeing those different places, then that person will choose going by bus. But if he'll go by bus, then he can see the things around, the greenery, the scenery and everything. Okay, I would go by bus and train to Patna, then sail up the Ganges. Ganges means the Ganga river, past Banaras to Allahabad, then up the Yamuna, past Agra to Delhi. But I am too exhausted. That means the writer is saying that he is very much tired, because he was coming from China to India, right? So he was very much exhausted and homesick. Homesick means it is a kind of feeling where you are too much longing to go back to your home. That means when I'll give you one example. If we want to go for a picnic, we are all excited that when we'll go. Once we go to that place, once we reach over there, for 2 days, 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, we'll enjoy a lot. But after that, we'll remember our home. We'll start longing for our home. We'll decide or we'll think that no, now I want to just go back or reach my home. That is what is homesick. Okay. So what the writer is saying, that I am too exhausted and homesick. Today is the last day of August. Go home, I tell myself. So he is saying that it is the last day of August and I need to reach home immediately or anyhow. Move directly towards home. I enter a Nepal Airlines office and buy a ticket for tomorrow's flight. That means he was so much tired and exhausted that he did not decide to travel by bus or train. Instead, he decided to travel by aeroplane, flight. Next is 6th paragraph. I look at the flute seller standing in a corner of the square near the hotel. In his hand is a pole. Pole means usually it is a stick. If you all might have seen, usually the flute sellers, they have a pole, and in which there are so many different flutes, right, placed over there. So that is being talked about. So in his hand is a pole with an attachment at the top from which 50 or 60 bansuris, bansuris means a flute, protrudes in all the directions. That means it is popping out in all the directions, like the quills of a porcupine. Again, a porcupine is a kind of animal, right? So again, it has a pointed type nails type structure on its back, which is known as quills of a porcupine. So in the same way, this flute seller is having a pole where different flutes are placed. Almost 50 to 60 flutes were placed over there. They are a bamboo. They are cross flutes and recorders. From time to time, he stands the pole on the ground, selects a flute and plays for a few minutes. That means how he can sell his flutes, the maximum is, for that what he will do is, he will stand at regular interval of time, he will place his pole, which is keeping like this, he will place the pole on the ground From that he will choose or select the flute and he will play the music. The sound rises clearly above the noise of the traffic and the hawkers' cries. Right? That means there is so much crowd and noise in the market, but then to the sound of the flute is coming out clearly. He plays slowly, meditatively. Meditatively means he is completely lost in his flute playing. He is least bothered what is happening around, right? Without excessive display. He does not shout out his wares. That means like the other hawkers or the street sellers, he is not shouting like them, right? We usually see the hawkers, they shout loud. You all might have experienced that thing. But this flute seller is meditatively means in a very calm way he is playing his flute. He is attracting the people with his music, and that is how he is trying to sell his flutes. Okay. Occasionally he makes a sale. Occasionally means very rarely. That means not all the people are ready to purchase or buy his flute, right? If a person, one or two, or occasionally if a person gets influenced by the way he is playing the flute, that person will buy the flute. Okay, so occasionally he makes a sale, but in a curiously offhanded, the meaning is given casual, not showing much interest in something. So, but in a curiously offended way, as if this were incidental to his enterprise, sometimes he breaks off playing to talk to the fruit seller. That means if he'll sell 2 to 3 or maybe 4 5 flutes, after that he'll totally get relaxed, whether he is just least bothered that his flutes will be sold or not. It doesn't make any kind of difference to him, and he just places that pole aside and he starts talking with the fruit seller who is next to him. So this shows that he is least bothered, or it shows that it doesn't make any kind of sense or difference to him whether his flutes are sold or not. Okay. Further, I imagine that this has been the pattern of his life for years. That means then the writer realizes that this is his pattern of life for years. That means from years he is coming every day, he is playing his flute, he is selling occasionally few flutes, talking with the fruit seller, and then he just goes back, right? So that is what the writer realizes later on. Okay, moving ahead, 7th paragraph. I find it difficult to tear myself away from the square. Why? Because he is very much interested in the music of the flute. Flute music always does this to me. This is what the writer is saying. What is saying? It is at once the most universal and most particular of sounds. That means he is very much affected or influenced by the sound of the flute. Okay. There is no culture that does not have its flute, the reed ne. The reed ne means the type of flute. It is a kind of or a type of flute. So what he is saying, there is no culture that does not have its flute. That means in every place, every culture, all of them have a flute, but again of different types. The recorder, the Japanese shakuchi, the deep bansuri of Hindustani classical music, the clear or breathy flutes of South America, the high-pitched Chinese flutes, each has its specific fingering and compass. Fingering means usually you all might have seen that like this, they do something on the flute holes to produce a different kind of sound. So that is being talked about, right? It weaves its own associations, yet to hear any flute is, it seems to me, to be drawn into the commonality of all mankind. Commonality means common quality or feature shared by the people. That means we all are the people, right, who usually get attracted towards the sound or the music. So even the writer says that I am not different to others, even I am common to all. right? Whenever we hear such kind of beautiful music of flute, we all will get attracted towards it and will stand wherever we are and will start listening to it. To be moved by music closest in its phrases and sentence to the human voice. Its motive force too is living breath. It too needs to pause and breathe before it can go on. So he is describing about the flute, that how it is placed, how it is played, right? And what he is further saying, I'll read it again. Yet to hear any flute is, it seems to me, to be drawn into the commonality of all the mankind, to be moved by music closest in its phrases and sentences to the human voice. Its motive force too is living breath. It too needs to pause and breath before it can go on. So that he is describing how the flute is played and how the music is created. That I can, that is the last paragraph of this chapter, that I can be so affected by a few familiar phrases on the bansuri surprises me at first, for on the previous occasions that I have returned home after a long absence abroad, I have hardly noticed such details and certainly have not invested them with the significance I now do. Again, what writer is saying, that I can be so affected by a few familiar phrases on the bansuri surprises me at first, for on the previous occasions that I have returned home after a long absence abroad, I have hardly noticed such details and certainly have not invested them with the significance I now do. That means he is explaining about his behavior, right? That usually when he hears the music on bansuri, he gets very much affected by it, right? And usually he gets surprised, because what he is saying, that is, I have returned home after a long absence abroad. I have returned home after long absence abroad. That means he had gone to abroad and after a long time he is coming back home. I have hardly noticed such details and certainly have not invested them with the significance I now do. That means when he was outside abroad, right, the way he used to spend time, the way he used to listen to the sound of the flute, and he used to spare extra time for that. But when he is back home, he never gets time to do all such kind of things when he is back at his home, right? So when he is traveling, he gets a special kind of time, and he himself gets surprised that the way he passes his time by listening to the music and all those things. But when he is back home, he never gets such kind of time to spare behind such kind of thing, like hearing to the flute peacefully, roaming here and there and everything. So that is what is written over here in the last paragraph, and with it our chapter also gets over. So that's it for today. I'll end my lecture over here. I hope so the chapter is clear to you all. Thank you everyone for listening to me. Take care of yourself, stay healthy and stay safe. Bye everyone.